Hello, everyone, and welcome to Loro and Friends Inside the NFL. My name is Loro Antonio. Ben Kruse is with me today to recap last week's Patriots and Texans game, and it was a big win for the Pats, but it's been a eventful week in sports with the MLB playoffs starting to begin. We got hockey coming back this week, and then next week we got the NBA. Ben, how are you doing?
Well, I mean, the last time we talked, it was last week, and I unfortunately wasn't able to be on the call, the show with you guys Sunday night because I was definitely recovering. I was feeling under the weather a lot in the end of last week, but definitely, starting to kind of get myself back on the better week this week. I found it out from my parents that I'm going to Florida over the holiday break, or at least around New Year's for at least about a week or two, so that should be good. And of course, my Red Sox. Love to give them a huge shout out. Love this team very much. As you said off the right before we came on the air, it's just been a magical, wild run. The Rays are a great team. The Yankees are a great team. But this Red Sox team has been amazing. They're definitely just clicking right now on all cylinders. Even when they had a big 5-0 lead yesterday, the Rays came back and looked kind of harried kind of at that point in the eighth inning when they tied it, no outs. But Whitlock and a bunch of the guys, they stay resilient, they stay keyed on. And we found out today who we're facing. That's going to be the Houston Astros, and that's a 2018 rematch. A team that is very, very dangerous, really, really good. We got to play our A game. We got to go right to Houston for the first two, kind of similar to what we had to do in Tampa. I think if we split, it's at least a good opportunity. Obviously, it's going to be a best of seven. So if you do lose the first two, you do have a chance to go back and try to get, the series back intact. But it's been great so far. They've definitely exceeded my expectations, and the fact that we're a final two team here in the American League, it's pretty amazing, pretty magical, and we'll see how it goes. It's not done. Obviously, there's more room to see what happens, here on out. But it's been very exciting for me lately, and for you, man, your LA Dodgers, of course, are on the verge of elimination tonight. But as you said off the air, you're very confident. This is a very good San Francisco Giants team who won 1-0 yesterday. And it looks like Desclafani and Bueller are going to be the pitching matchup. So before we kind of get going with our football talk, just like to kind of ask you, obviously you seem like you're very confident, but, this is a opportunity where this is the defending champs here in the LA Dodgers from last year. It looks like the Braves and as I'm watching here, as well, the Brewers and the Braves are tied. If the Braves end up winning this game, they move on. If the Brewers find a way to win, they go back for Game 5. But if the Dodgers somehow find a way to get back and win this series, it could potentially be the Dodgers Brave once again, like last year, obviously. But the Giants are a great team. So, how do you feel, man? Of course, the nerves and jitters were kind of with me last game, the last couple nights. So I feel what you're going through, but it's going to be a good one. I'm excited to watch it when we're done with the show tonight.
It is going to be a great game. Right now, we got the Braves and the Brewers right now, and it's tied up at 4. And one of these two, if the Braves win, then they move on to the NLCS. And if the Brewers win, then it's Game 5 back in Milwaukee.
Definitely, man. This has been, I was even telling my dad, this morning when I woke up, just feeling just amazed, obviously from last night. But the fans, there's something about the fans in baseball. Obviously, last year, just it was really weird. Just the 60 games. Of course, you're happy about the World Series with the Dodgers, which very deservedly so. But just the whole setup. Obviously, it was very unique for kind of one season. But to be back in full stadiums at your own place, just the juice and stuff. Oh man, at least at Fenway, the place was absolutely buzzing last night. Even though I wasn't even there, of course, but just it felt like you were there. Just the fact how crazy it was going. But yeah, best of luck tonight. Let's get the show going because, of course, we've been talking about the game. We obviously want to watch the game, so we at least have an hour before we get back to that.
Yeah, so first off, the Patriots, however, before we get to the Patriots, we have some unfortunate news to talk about here is that Jon Gruden has stepped down as the Las Vegas Raiders head coach because of racist emails that was sent to NFLPA director DeMaurice Smith. And obviously, that's been surfaced. It was leaked. And Jon Gruden decided to step down as the Raiders head coach because he didn't want to be a distraction, even though that he does love the Raiders. But before you go on here, the team has confirmed that Rick Bisaccia, the Raiders' assistant head coach and special teams coordinator, will be the interim coach, all likelihood for the remainder of the season. And if he does well, he could very well take over as the full-time head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders, but they have other candidates in mind like Eric Bieniemy and some other candidates that they may think about. But I know that Mark Davis knows what he's doing. But I just think that Mark Davis just didn't want to mess around with Gruden.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting story. I mean, I didn't really, I got the notification when I was watching the Sox, and of course my mind was obviously on the Sox, but kind of reading it after the Sox game was over, I kind of really read into it. I'm like, man, the thing about sports, you just never realize with a lot of people, they seem like they're great people, and I think Gruden is a good person, but, obviously a lot of people make mistakes, and, this is something that he probably will live on for the rest of his life. If the NFL and the NFLPA found messages that were obviously, sent out, leaked out somewhere, and they were able to find just very suspicious activity going on, it's of course crazy. Of course I was hoping for a great, NFL story for Gruden. His comeback kind of story, and obviously that was actually my brother's. He went to my brother's alma mater, at the University of Dayton. So obviously kind of really pulling for him, but of course this is very unfortunate to hear. I do respect the fact is that Gruden decided to step down and part ways because, not every coach that obviously has had some baggage before or something happened kind of done that, but he did what's known he's best for the team. And he decided to not make that as a distraction as they're trying to still early part of the season to work and move forward on something different. Even though it's not going to be with their old head coach. But yeah, this definitely was a very shocking, surprising story to hear. But it's a part of business sometimes in sports, and things of course you got to be very careful with. Being publicly about. You look at a bunch of other athletes around that just might seem like great people, and it only takes one fuck up to really kind of get yourself into deep trouble, or people could say in the doghouse. And this is kind of the way that Green is kind of seen as, and now of course he kind of has to see how he can get his life back on track.
Yes, absolutely. So now, with that being said, let's talk about the Patriots and the Texans game. I thought that this game was going to be a blowout. Davis Mills played a lot better than he did last week against the Buffalo Bills. Mac Jones had another fantastic game. Damian Harris was a bit banged up in this game, but I think the Patriots need a lot of work on their offensive line and their defense. But I felt like that this team had a good narrow win, but it could have been a lot better against this very, very tough, a bad Houston Texans team that is still going through a lot of drama. And what I saw from Davis Mills is if he continues to play like he is right now, he could very well be the new face of the franchise at quarterback for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, that was – I didn't really watch a bunch of the first half because I was working, but it just seemed like it was one of the most – it was ugly football all around, to say the least. It's probably the ugliest game probably played out the whole season, even though it turned out to be a win. But as we said, Loro, we've had a bunch of pretty losses so far that we played well. Sometimes you have to kind of have the reversal. And so, they found a way to really get themselves kind of back into this game in the second half. And Mac definitely, really started to air the ball out. Hunter Henry had a big game. He's definitely starting to get things going here the last couple of weeks. Jonnu Smith and a bunch of other guys, as my cat has now made an appearance here. So bear with me, Loro, if you happen to see that. My cat making a quick appearance here on our show. But yeah, I mean, it was obviously good to see the win, but the Texans definitely costed them big time. They had this, they were moving the ball. It took a punt to basically hit somebody right in front of them. Patriots got a 52-yarder, I believe, by Falk. He made 2 field goals, and Henry had the touchdown. The Texans did kind of squander in the second half. I thought the Pats actually played much better in that third, fourth quarter where they really had all the momentum, but a really sloppy game. And, you take it as a win, But, you play like this against the Dallas Cowboys next week, and you're going to be in for a long one, probably a loss. This Texans team definitely has a lot of issues, and, I'm not discrediting the Patriots in terms of that comeback, but the Texans kind of gave you that game, and the Patriots are very fortunate enough they were able to take that to their advantage and take that win.
They did. I mean, if you looked at it here, I mean, obviously Mac Jones played great, but the Patriots have a test against the Cowboys. I put the Cowboys on upset alert just because I feel like that the Patriots are due for a home win. But if the Cowboys win, I wouldn't be so surprised about it because I really think that if the Patriots lose to the Cowboys, then I do expect the Patriots to beat the Jets at home next week.
Right, yeah. I mean, they have 2 home games. They haven't won, as we said last week, they haven't won a home game yet. And it's just usually a place where they've dominated for so long. That's the biggest thing about football is you got to dominate your home turf, no matter where in sports. As you just saw with my Boston Red Sox, they had 2 games where they went to Tropicana, and obviously this is kind of a quick topic there, but this is partly talking regarding the home field. And then they took 1 out of 2 from Tampa, then went back home field to protect, and they won both games to move on to the LCS. That's what the Patriots really have to do. They've had a lot of really tough games though at home, a lot of tough teams. I mean, that Dolphin team, that Week 1 game, the Dolphins aren't a very good team. Even with 2, there's something with that team. I mean, yeah, I mean they could definitely turn things around, but I don't think they're better than Buffalo. I think we're kind of on the level as the Dolphins right now, and I don't think the Dolphins are particularly great. I don't think to kind of classify ourselves right now lower as a team myself, and I love my Patriots so much. We are kind of a average team best right now. That's kind of the way I kind of see it. We're not great. We're not even good. We're just kind of there. And, things could definitely change over time. We're in our week 4, week 5, but things really have to come together. I have to really see, like you said, an upset alert. They happen to, have a game against Dallas, and I'm actually expecting the Patriots to lose this weekend, but go next week and play against the Jets and win. If they win against the Dallas Cowboys are a great team. Listen, they went head-to-head against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If it didn't come down a couple plays, who knows where they stand. I mean, this Dallas. I mean, we'll talk about Dallas in a bit. Just a quick preview that their defense got much better. I think it's a lot better than people give credit for, and their offense is scary good, especially when Dak is back with all their guys that they have around. They're gonna get tested, and we also have to talk about Stephon Gilmore too. We have not gone to that, and man, this secondary, yikes. Let's just say that.
It's not really good right now. It's J.C. Jackson's good, but they got to be a lot better than that right now. So let's talk about our players of the game now from the Patriots and Texans game. So I'm going to say my player of the game for offense is Mac Jones again. I think Mac Jones is he's continuing to get better and better each week, and that game-winning touchdown pass to Hunter Henry proved it that he got the job done. Who is your offensive player of the game in Week 5 for the Patriots against the Houston Texans?
You're going to like this one, Loro, but I'm not giving it to one player. I'm giving this to the offensive line. Listen, you had Shaq Mason out. You had Owenu out. You had Trent Brown out. And by the way, Trent Brown really starting to concern me now. This player is really starting to concern that his health for the season is concerning me. It's an issue that I'll definitely want to get my presence known to say out here for. So between Brown, Owenu, Mason, he was out. And you had to – and I know Houston, I don't think they're a great defense, but you have to go on the road, and I'm not saying it's a hostile environment, but to go down to Texas, I think the offensive line, for the most part, played pretty well. With all, considered with the guys not playing out of position. You talk about Ted Karras, who he's been a player of the Patriots before, but he hasn't played a lot of snaps. You talk about Alex Redmond, who they got, who's struggled badly in Cincy. You talk about Justin Herron, who struggled mightily early on the season without Isaiah. Isaiah Wentz had his issues, but man, their running game, I thought the blocking was a lot better as the game went on. So give me that as the players of the game. It was the reason they won was a team wise. I don't think it was on one player. Mac, of course, loved the comeback, but that offensive line, I thought definitely stood out the most because I think a lot of people were at this point were like, "Oh, he's going to get killed. Max going to get killed." There's these all backups here, and he did great. They did a great job. I give him a lot of props for it. Now, this can happen for weeks on end. They need to get their health guys back on the offensive line, but for 1 week and for them to get a win when they need it badly, I'll take that any day of the week.
Absolutely. The offensive line was fantastic. David Andrews led the way for them. He gave them a lot of motivation, and that's why he's one of our offensive captains.
Well, David Andrews, of course, is one of the best teammates on the Patriots. One of Tom Brady's closest friends. Brady's had a lot of friends for the Patriots in the past, but he obviously talks about his close friends on the receiving corps. His offensive line mates, he has a bunch of them because without a lot of them, that protection, it's not all Brady. I mean, Brady, of course, is Brady, but of course, he needs that line of protection in order to make things happen as well too. So, but yeah, Andrews, of course, is not only a great player, but just a great teammate on and off the field, does everything well. And yeah, when his name's basically called, he definitely anchors that line, does the best job he can, and glad to see him out there. Knock on wood. I just hope his health can stay long term. He's had health problems in the past in terms of staying out there on the field. But when he's out there, he's a warrior. He does everything great, and wish him best of luck the rest of the way here.
And then on defense, I'm gonna have to give this another back-to-back one. So Matt Judon, he is continuing to lead our team in sacks, and Matt Judon is definitely already one of our best players on defense. But also, welcome back, Jamie Collins.
Yeah, I like that Jamie Collins pick a lot. Yeah, of course, Gilmore, of course, is moving on. Of course, we'll talk about that. But Jamie Collins is there bringing in an old friend. He had a big sack. I remember in that game. I'm gonna go with Dante Hightower. And I know he's definitely he's fallen off for sure. Especially like his age and stuff like that. But he definitely stood out there on the game tape. I definitely, I don't know if you follow this guy Evan Lazzaro at all on Twitter, but every single game, the day after I put game tape on, they definitely show a bunch of sequence of different plays. And he was talking about how Dante Hightower definitely was a player out there, and he had a couple of rushes, he had a couple of big tackles in the running defensive game, because the running defense has been brutal. And of course, I think Hightower is a big reason why he was kind of manageable at times. So yeah, I hope Dante Hightower could definitely get himself going here because he's a huge difference maker when he's out there and he can play to his high ability. Of course, he's definitely struggled lately with it, but that was definitely a positive. So give me him as defensive player here.
Absolutely. I mean, Dante Hightower is starting to pick it up a little bit, and we'll go from there here. So also talk about who is our special teams player of the game here. I mean, if I looked at it here, I think that Jake Bailey has made some really good punts in this game as well.
I'm going to go Nick Folk. I mean, I gave Bailey last week. I think, last week. I'm going to go Folk this week. He continues to make big kick after big kick. The Patriots, we'll talk about their red zone offense because I still think it's an absolute mess. But he just continues to make big kick after big kick. He made couple big kicks when they were down 22-9. And obviously, I know it's a chip shot to win it at the end, but you still got to make it. Crazy things have happened. Kickers obviously had kind of a bad week this week. So regardless of the fact, easy or not, he had to still come through, and he was able to come through. So give me Nick Folk.
All right. So also, let's talk about here our biggest takeaways from Week 5. So let's take a look here at our Week 5 scores from last week and talk about what was the biggest takeaway here from Week 5. I'm going to say here that the Atlanta Falcons beat the New York Jets in London. And also the Buffalo Bills demolishing Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Those are my two biggest takeaways from Week 5.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my biggest takeaway is just the amount of injuries that have in the Giants. I'm not really like the Giants, but my biggest takeaway is, man, I mean, talk about just terrible luck. You have Daniel Jones got hurt. You had Saquon got hurt. You're already down Darius Slayton. Kenny Galladay got hurt. Sterling Shepard was hurt, and you're starting left tackle. My takeaway there is just you talk about just terrible luck there. I still had the Cowboys winning that game, regardless if they were out there and staying healthy. But of course, you want to have your main guys stay healthy. They were kind of still within reach at that point, but once they all went down, of course, the ties kind of turned around here, and who knows, a lot of their status is moving on forward. But yeah, that was a huge takeaway there in terms of those injuries. Another takeaway too is the amount of field goals that were kind of missed. I did see a stat there that a lot of field goals missed. Two more things. I didn't really watch a bunch of that Colts-Ravens game last night, but I did hear about the Colts in terms of the way that they lost that game. Lamar Jackson, though, is playing at a great level. This season, and he's doing great. With that Raven team, he's able to make that comeback happen last night. And Patrick Mahomes, that the game between the Chiefs and the Bills, I gotta tell you, Loro, I think the Chiefs are playing pissed off now. But what I do have to say about that Bills defense, they knew how to stop Tyreek Hill, even though he's a little bit banged up. And I'm not going to go full in detail about that game, but the Chiefs aren't unstoppable anymore. They have a lot of issues themselves. They have some offensive line issues, and I obviously could say this, and then it could get blown up in my face by the end of this year. Knowing myself, but as I'm seeing it right now, the Chiefs. I mean, the Bills aren't afraid of the Chiefs at all. They played them tough last year.
Nobody's afraid of the Chiefs anymore.
No. I'm Patrick Mahomes. As much as I love Mahomes, and he's still probably the best quarterback of this era, this modern day of football, one of the most electrifying. He's not the same guy he was. I mean, he's already thrown. I mean, some of the interceptions aren't his problem, but he's already thrown 6 interceptions. That was the most that he threw 6 interceptions all last season. And he's already thrown 6. So he's going to at least have, maybe 12, 13. Maybe he might have like 6 more by the end of the season. I mean, he'll still probably throw, 40-plus touchdowns. But still, I mean, that's crazy for him.
Yeah, that is still crazy.
Their defense, that Chiefs, their issue, their defense. Their defense is bend or break. Like, as Isaiah said, their defense. You talk about the Patriots problem. Their defense, the Chiefs' defense has a bunch of issues. I mean, Chris Jones is a big part of their defense, and he wasn't playing Sunday. But man, oh man, Josh Allen was picking them apart left and right. Yeah, the Chiefs kind of got themselves back in the momentum there. Did that little rain delay, and they got the touchdown, and then the penalties. That's another thing. The penalties, man. What do you think about penalties now in the NFL these days? Just the there's some ticky-tack, there's crazy penalties here and there. They call everything now, man. It's insane. And then what were your first couple takeaways?
Penalties.
Yeah, a lot of flags. A lot of flags that have been out there. Different games that I've been seeing. But it's been for a lot in the last couple of years here. They don't make a lot of these. I mean, they obviously make these games enjoyable, but for a lot of these games, in the past, there's been a lot of games with a lot of penalties. It's kind of just the way it goes.
All right, now let's talk about our divisional standings here. So, starting the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills are 4-1. The Patriots leapfrog the Dolphins in second place with a 2-3 record. The Miami Dolphins are 1-4, but I think their record will change because I really think that when Tua Tagovailoa comes back, I think the Dolphins are going to not be counted out. Don't underestimate the Dolphins right now. And then the Jets, they have a long way to go in their rebuild.
Yep, well, the Bills, number one, that shouldn't be a shocker. They're playing like the best team. As Loro said before the season, they're probably going to win the AFC East. I do think that's going to happen as well. But down the way, I see it not only as a whole now, but now just as a team itself. Patriots, a long way to go. I think they're worse than what their record's shown, 2-3, but yikes. I mean, they beat the Jets, which the Jets are at the bottom of the barrel still this year. They lost. Yes, I mean, they lost really close. I mean, they're probably their worst game was their loss to the Saints, kind of the way that they play. That's just a whole there. Tampa Bay, they played great. They came short. Obviously, missed field goal. The Miami game, of course, came up short because of the fumble by Harris. So not all is lost for the Patriots, but that their offensive play calling at times is just absolutely hard to watch. Down the stretch here, and the conservativeness on this team, and there's just a lot more issues, I'd say, more than positive, I guess you can see with this Patriots team right now. Obviously down the road, hopefully that'll switch. And the Dolphins, like you said, Tua coming back. I am a Tua guy. I think he's a decent quarterback, but I think he's not great. I don't think he's as good as what people make it out to be. We'll have to just see, how things really go here with this Dolphins team. I mean, Brian Flores is a great coach, and they have a decent defense, so we'll see how that goes. And then the Jets are the Jets at the end of the day. They're not going anywhere. They're a rebuilding team. They still got a long way to go. They got some good players here and there, but the Jets are the Jets.
Yeah, absolutely. So also, now let's talk about the AFC North. Let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So basically, the Ravens are in first place. The Cincinnati Bengals are in second, with the Browns in third. It's a two-way tie here. But the Steelers got to win against the Broncos, so the Denver Broncos are definitely falling off a cliff a little bit. But speaking of the Dolphins, Ben, even though that they're 1-4, I really think that this Dolphins team will take off at the right time, and they'll find a way to get into a playoff spot.
Well, I think that they could definitely turn their season around, but I just don't know in terms of how I feel about their team. I haven't really looked at their schedule to be fair for myself, so I can't really judge it as it is. But I do still think that there are some teams out there that are probably better than them. There are probably some teams out there that have kind of had slow starts. I still think Kansas City's a better team than them. I still think, Baltimore, Cleveland, Buffalo.
What were you saying?
I'm back here. Okay. But yeah, sorry about that. My Wi-Fi was acting up. But yeah, I really think that the Dolphins could be really good, but they definitely still have a long way to go.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The Dolphins have a long way to go, that's for sure. So now on to the AFC North. You think that if you look at this division, I mean, the Ravens are right now leading this division. I still think Cleveland will win this division still.
Cleveland's a really good team. They went head-to-head with that Chargers game. I don't know if you watched that, between Baker and Justin Herbert, two up-and-coming. I mean, Baker's a really good quarterback. I wouldn't consider Baker a star, but I think Justin Herbert could get to that star level. I think he's that good as a quarterback. He's at least in top 5. I think the best quarterbacks I can see playing right now, top 5. I mean, Russell Wilson, we'll talk about Russ, with his injury, of course, because that definitely changes a lot in terms of the way I think about that team right now. When Russ is healthy, he's in my top 10. But top 5, the way I see it, is Tom Brady is playing out of his mind. He, at his age, I'm going with him as 1. Number 2, as the way I think about right now, Kyler Murray. I mean, he's just playing great. Herbert, number 3. Lamar, 4. I'd probably still have Mahomes in 5, but I think Mahomes is, he's struggling. Or no, I would probably go Allen. Yeah, it's kind of hard to take Mahomes out of top 5. It really is. I'd probably go Herbert in my top 10. To be fair, I think Mahomes is probably in that top 5, but Herbert for sure is top 6, 7. He's in top 10 for sure. So.
Yeah, Herbert is definitely top 10, that's for sure. So anyways, now let's go into the AFC South. The Tennessee Titans are up by a game over the Texans and Colts, and the Jaguars are 0-5. So do you think maybe at some point you might start to realize, the Urban Meyer experience in the NFL might have to come to a close.
So that division, I mean, the Colts are, they had that game last night. They definitely squandered it. They have a lot. They definitely have a lot of talent, but they got to find ways to win against better teams, and they had a chance yesterday. So I can't really, see that they're a really good team right now. The Titans are a decent team, but they did lose to the Jets a couple weeks ago, so they still have a lot of questions. They're probably still the best team in that division right now. Texans, of course, the Texans. They're a rebuilding team. They got a lot of issues front management wise and just their team wise. And of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars, just a mess top to bottom. Urban Meyer, of course, and that situation is not going too well. I'm not sure if they'll fire him because that team still, I think, has some potential. Maybe not this year, but at least for the future. But yeah, it's tough to kind of see as a Jags. For a Jags fan, obviously that's trying to watch this year. It's obviously tough for them to see.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to see as a Jags, but I just think that I have faith in Urban Meyer as the next head coach of as the Jaguars head coach. I think he's the right person for this job.
Mm-hmm. Definitely so.
But I think that you just have to give him time and all that. And I think Urban Meyer has learned from his mistake from what happened, and we'll go from there. So now on to the AFC West. We talked about. I don't think anybody's afraid of the Chiefs anymore. I mean, the Chargers are playing out of their minds right now. I think the Chiefs will still be fine. I still think they'll leapfrog the Denver Broncos. The Raiders are in second place still, but I think that the Raiders will find a way to move on from Gruden and win some ball games with Derek Carr. They still have a talented roster, and I think Denver's fallen off a cliff, and I think the Chiefs will start getting back up in the mix in the division.
Yeah, like I said, we were talking about the Broncos. They play great against first couple games against kind of so-so teams. They've shown their true colors because they just lost against a team, the Steelers, that were really struggling, kind of going to that game. The Steelers needed that game, but they needed a win. But they were playing great ball, but they found a way to win that one. Denver really struggled in that one. They also struggled in that game against Baltimore. So back-to-back weeks against AFC North teams, which were really good caliber teams in years past, last couple years, they've had some problems with. So they've kind of fallen off. Kansas City, of course, has had a slow year so far, but they can turn on, at any point. If their defense can definitely get themselves fixtured and fixated, by the end of the season, they can not only get themselves not only one of the best teams in the division, but one of the best teams back in the AFC. So I can't really disclaim them out at anything right now. But the Chargers are playing out of their minds. They're playing great ball defensively, and offensively. It looks like their head coaching situation, their front office is just clicking right now. And, Eckler staying healthy is huge. He's had a huge year so far this year. Mike Williams is playing great. He's one of the top 5 leaders in reception touchdowns. Keenan Allen's, of course, one of the best yards after catch type of guy. Receiving yards wise is just an elite, underrated, I think, really wide receiver. People don't get a lot of credit for Keenan Allen is. And, of course, you have Herbert. So that's a really good division still. I'd probably go with kind of the two teams I still see really are the Chargers and Chiefs. And the Raiders, of course. I think honestly, though, the Raiders, of course, are going to get themselves back on track. But you see the situation here. They might have definitely some stuff in the locker room. I don't know how the new guys are always going to come in. And I haven't seen what's their schedule. But I can see them having a little bit of a slide here. So, but they definitely will kind of turn themselves around before the season's over.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about the NFC East. So the Cowboys are pretty much – it looks like they're running away with this division. I think the Washington football team and the Eagles are still keeping pace. And I just think the Giants right now are the worst team in that division. I just think that the Giants right now have a lot of problems right now. Not to fault Joe Judge, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this Giants team, man, they've had a lot of bad luck, but of course they have a long way to go. Let's just say that, top to bottom, front office wise, they've had some injuries. Their play of footballs here and there not great. So Yeah, they had a good one against the Saints. They found a way to win that one, but consistency wise, I don't think that they're a very good team. They're a decent team at best. The Patriots and Giants are kind of playing like. I mean, the Patriots still probably playing a little bit better than the Giants. The Giants are just not a very good team, top to bottom right now. They just have a lot of injuries and just a lot of issues themselves. Joe Judge, I'm not sure how he's handling that team right now too. But yeah, just kind of not a lot of things going their way right now. I mean, you look at other teams in that division. The Cowboys are the best team. The Washington football team, I think, is definitely kind of fallen off a bit. Their defense hasn't been as best as I thought so far. And then you look at other teams out there. I think the Eagles are a decent team. They're okay, not great. And then you have, I think I definitely got on top of all of them that I had to say. But yeah, Cowboys are still the best.
All right, now let's talk about who is going to win between the. Let's talk about the NFC North. So we got the Green Bay Packers 4-1. They beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Then you got the Chicago Bears with a 3-2 record. They came off a big win over the Raiders. And then the Vikings fall to 2-3 with a win over the Lions. And the Lions, they are playing very hard in games, but they just always come up short. Not to fault Dan Campbell, though. But I just think that the Lions, it's not a team like how Matt Patricia handled this team. Last year, the Lions were so atrocious to watch because Matt Patricia would be so stupid and calling a lot of defensive plays. He was part of the blame why the Lions defense was so bad. But with Dan Campbell, I think that Dan Campbell is doing an even much better job in how he's coaching the Lions. But the Lions are rebuilding.
Exactly. I mean, I feel bad for the Lions because I know last year that their Lions were supposed to be good this year either. But they've definitely been in almost every single game, I think. They play really hard and they were this close of getting their first win in Minnesota last week, this past game. They've definitely had some heartbreakers here and there. So I hope the Lions definitely could get a win here and there. That'd be great for their team and franchise because obviously they've suffered a lot. So Packers, of course, had a big one in Cincy. That was a big one for them. Cincy was playing really good football leading up to that time. And even though Mason Crosby and Cincy kicker went back and forth, missing field goals, Crosby won the battle of who to make it first in OT. So that was a big one for the Packers. Packers are playing great football. Definitely find ways to win lately. Vikings are still playing decent. They're okay. They have their hiccups here and there. Just got to see if they do well this season, how they can perform postseason wise, because of course they've had their issues. So, and then you have the Bears. The Bears going permanently to Justin Fields, which I love. Matt Nagy eventually actually acting smart for once, even though I don't feel like that was his decision. I think that was a front office decision. And they went to the Raiders and got a really good one there. So it's kind of the way I see that one so far. As we're leading up to about half an hour before the first pitch of your game.
Yeah, it was a very good game, that's for sure. So now let's go on to the NFC South. So the Buccaneers beat the Dolphins. They're 4-1. The Panthers are starting to fall off a little bit, but they're 3-2. But I do think that they'll find a way to win ball games when McCaffrey returns. The Saints beat the Washington football team, and then the Falcons are keeping pace.
Yep. So the Buccaneers are just clicking. Like I said, our guy Tom Brady's just been unbelievable. Another 5-touchdown game, 2 to Evans, 2 to Antonio Brown, and 1 to Giovanni Bernard. The defense was playing great football. They hadn't picked on Jacoby Brissett. The Dolphins actually played okay a lot of the first half, but then the Bucs really just turned it on. They, of course, have a tough one coming up against Philly. It's a short week. They obviously had a short week loss last year in Chicago. Of course, the game where our favorite QB lost track of downs. And then of course, the Saints, they went into Washington and beat that team. this past game. So, of course, they're coming off with confidence there. The Falcons, of course, being the Jets, I still don't have a lot of faith in the Falcons, but I guess a win is a win. At least for them, some good remorse, I guess you can say there. Kyle Pitts, of course, coming up big, especially with Calvin Ridley being down and Russell Gage, two of their top guys at receiving. Pitts can really, as one of the best top draft picks, not only at the position at tight end, but just in football. And he came up huge at the London game. And then Panthers have kind of slid a bit. The last couple of games here, they went to Dallas, after coming, they're 3-0. They're Carolina and Denver so far, Loro, has been a little similar. They had some great games so far to start the year. Now they kind of slid off. So now we're kind of seeing at this point who are some pretenders, who are some contenders that we really have to keep an eye on. Obviously, kind of teams that are in the middle. A team, for instance, like Kansas City, in terms of they're not great, but of course, they could be a team that their record is could be much better. They turn it around. There are also some teams that have obviously kind of overachieved a bit, and they're kind of sliding in. They might not be as good as the record might show, to start off the first couple games. So.
And now let's talk about the NFC West. I mean, the Cardinals are 5-0. They've been the surprise story in the NFL right now. The Rams coming off a big win over the Seahawks. The Seahawks are 2-3. They're going to be without Russell Wilson for quite some time, maybe 4 weeks. But I do expect Geno Smith to somehow find a way to step up and make sure that the Seahawks keep pace in this very, very competitive NFC West. But the 49ers are still at 2-3.
Yeah, so obviously Russ going down. Russ is one of my favorite quarterbacks in football. Wish him the best of luck. Of course, that's terrible to see. Just tough to see him go down like that. But he's a warrior. He'll definitely come back better than ever. That team for the Rams, of course, they had a big win in Seattle. They're, of course, coming off with a big one there. And, that team offensively look good. Their defenses look good. Stafford, of course, he had a little bit of injury himself in that game, but he played good. And then Cardinals are the only team still in football undefeated. They just came off a win here against Isaiah's 49ers. I don't know. I haven't really got the chance to talk to Isaiah about that game, but he's probably a little salty and upset about that.
Did you see that video? Did you see the video I posted of him saying "bye-bye, sea chickens"?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
in Trey area.
We could talk about that off the air. Say that for another time. Yeah, that was funny.
That video of him saying "bye-bye, sea chickens" was funny.
Yeah. And then, so we talk about and obviously the Niners. They just came up short against the Cardinals, but I still think they played a hard game. And obviously, the Trey Lance era has begun as Jimmy G's been banged down, and George Kittle was out. So of course, that's a big loss too, especially if it's a missed extensive amount of time. So that's the NFC West for you.
It is. So now let's talk about the Patriots and Cowboys game preview. So this is going to be a tough game, but I picked the Patriots to win 27-24 over the Cowboys just because they need to win badly at home. And you picked the Cowboys to beat the Patriots, right?
I do, even though I got to read this article after we're done. It's regarding the Patriots. So I want to see the spread on this game. I'm curious to see that. I've always kind of been interested about the spread here. I'm going to go on ESPN, 425. Let's see. They give the Cowboys a 55% chance, match predictor. Give the Patriots a 43% chance to win. Yeah, I'd probably go 31-17 Cowboys.
That's gonna be a and why?
Two-score win. Well, I just can't trust the Patriots defense right now, and the Cowboys score a lot. And Dak's played great. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, their tight ends have been used a lot. You know, if the Patriots pass defense, without Gilmore, Gilmore's of course a big piece last year against the Cowboys a couple years ago in Foxborough. He did well on Amari Cooper. Outside of J.C. Jackson, I just still have a lot of, self-doubts about that secondary right now. Jalen Mills can come back. That's big for them, though, because he played great against Tampa. Now, one thing I do have to say, though, is they did play great against Tampa Bay's receiving corps. They played great against Evans, Godwin, and Antonio Brown for the most part, and their tight ends, too. So that Cowboys team kind of reminds me of kind of the playmaking of the Cowboys team. And we saw kind of how that went. The Bucks only won by one extra point there. If it wasn't for that game-winning field goal, potentially, we didn't know. Obviously, Brady could have went down and won it there at the end. But they played tough at home despite that Saints game. But yeah, I'm not feeling too good. I mean, I want to feel a little bit better than this one, but realistically, my heart wants the Patriots. My gut goes probably Cowboys in this one by a score or two.
And also, if you talk about keys to the game here, what I want to see is better third down offense, better red zone offense for the Patriots, and better pass defense for the Patriots. Because if the pass defense can't step up, then Dak Prescott's going to throw all over the place.
Dak can go for 300 plus. If I mean, look at Davis Mills. He's a third stringer. Not to take away from Davis Mills, but he had basically practice guys out there. If not, it was Brandon Cooks, and he was just tearing up our secondary. I mean, it's pretty embarrassing to say the least. Pretty bad. And, you're going from this week now to a team with CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott. You're not on your A game to start the game off like you were last week. You're going to lose. So they got to really start. The keys to the game for me is they got to get better in their red zone. They got to score touchdowns in this game, not field goals. They can't settle like the Texans and kind of just chip away. The Cowboys are just too good for that, the way I see it right now. They got to go really match to match. Mac, of course, has to hold on to the football, not turn it over. He had some chances. I mean, I thought Mac did okay last week. He had some chances where he almost got picked a couple times. Henry has to keep on doing his thing. He got better, I think, the last couple weeks. Donovan Smith, of course, I think can get a little bit better too. Damon Harris, hold on to the football, but keep their strong running going. Jacoby Myers, hope you get in the end zone. That would be great. And N'Keal Harry. I think N'Keal Harry could have a big game this one. Do not watch out for Trevion Diggs for the Cowboys. He's been one of the best interception guys. He's of course a guy to watch out for the defense of the Cowboys. And Cowboys are fast, they're quick. This is going to be a test. It's going to be a big test for the Patriots. They win this one, I think it's going to be an upset.
Yes, it's going to be an upset here, that's for sure. Next week, we're going to talk about when the Patriots play the Jets and recap the Patriots and Cowboys game. Final thoughts and announcements is that the next Loro and Friends show will be next Tuesday. Time to be determined. It's going to depend on what time the Dodgers play in the NLCS, but we're going to have to get through this series first. So, Ben, have a great rest of your night. I'll talk to you again on Sunday for the extra point.
Yep, and yeah, it sucks that I wasn't able to get on this past Sunday because I wasn't feeling great. I'm still not feeling great, but I'm definitely feeling a lot better than I was a couple days ago. So it's good to be back on here. Good to see the Sox moving on. Good luck, of course, to your team, which kicks off in about 20 minutes here. So,
well, the Braves and Brewers are both tied right now.
Yep, yeah. So definitely can take a look at watching some baseball before the night is over here. But best of luck, my friend. Good luck, and of course, by the time we get back on here, we'll see kind of where things stand in baseball. Hockey's, of course, back, and things, of course, are in full swing. We'll talk more about the Cowboys-Patriot game on Sunday, shall we?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Well, have a good one. Thanks for having me once again, like always, and I'll talk to you later.